here this evening, you know, technology, you gotta love it. I'm over here talking and I'm not even on camera. So it's been that type of day. So I'm excited to be here with you all. Happy Tuesday. And today we are going to talk about it. Let's talk about it. I'm here alone momentarily, not sure who is going to show up. We have a guest scheduled, but technology is all over the place. Whether you're on LinkedIn or Clubhouse or some of these other platforms, it's just been a lot of craziness going on. So, one of the mantras I have is that the show goes on. Whoever shows up, because if it's on my calendar, it's happening. So, before we get into today's conversation, I'm so excited about being able to support my fellow co-founder of a club on Clubhouse, Elephant Strategy House. She is a pancreatic cancer survivor. Summer DaCosta is her name, and we just had a walk this past weekend for pancreatic cancer. She was given a 9% chance of survival 6 years ago. Well, it'll be 6 years in July. And so she is still here making a difference, impacting the lives of other people who are given such a diagnosis, and continuing to spread hope, generosity, kindness. There's so many words that comes to mind with her heart and her giving spirit that I just would love to let everybody just have a small part to be able to show gratitude for the things that she's doing. So I have a small clip that was created by someone in my network. But before I go to this clip, I want to introduce myself because I'm just talking. And one of the things about these platforms are they go to so many different places. You're not sure who's watching live, who's on the replay. And so if there is some people on the replay, they may not even know who I am. So I am Lachelle, also known as America's Supermom. I'm the mother of 15 children, and I am a TV producer of Keep It Real TV, which is a channel on the Zandra TV network. This channel, we focus on monetizing your message as well as creating a global impact. We're passionate about self-development, or stories of overcoming adversity and how we can show up and continue to shine in the marketplace. So I'm excited to be here and to connect with everybody this evening. So depending on when my guest shows up, if they're able to make it or not, we'll be talking about podcasting. And also, it's the end of April, the last day. And we are going to be talking about how we make that transition. And my guest is calling, so I'm going to commercial break. I'll be right back. Hello?
Imagine a world where every color in the rainbow signifies a different cause. A world where every color is a beacon of hope and symbol of unity. Now picture the color purple. This is the color that represents the fight against pancreatic cancer. This is the color of Pancan Purple Stride. Pancan Purple Stride is much more than a walk. It is a movement, a collective stride towards a future where pancreatic cancer is no longer a death sentence. It is a show of strength, a testament to the power of unity, and a beacon of hope for those battling this deadly disease. Every stride taken, every dollar donated, fuels the fight against pancreatic cancer. It propels us towards a future where this disease no longer has such a devastating impact. It funds vital research, fuels new treatment options, and provides one-on-one support for patients and their families. These strides are not made in isolation. They are made together in solidarity in a sea of purple. They are made by individuals and teams, by survivors and supporters. They are made by you and me, by us. The funds raised through Pancan Purple Stride are life-altering. They are the lifeblood of groundbreaking research, the catalyst for new treatments, and the lifeline for patients in need of support. Every donation, no matter the size, brings us one step closer to a future where pancreatic cancer is a thing of the past. The power of Pancan Purple Stride is not just in the strides we take, but in the impact we make. It is in the lives we touch, the hope we ignite, the future we shape. It is in the difference we make, together. This is the power of purple. This is the power of Pancan Purple Stride. It is a power that is both potent and profound. It is a power that is within all of us. And it is a power that together can end pancreatic cancer once and for all.
All right. Thank you so much for your patience, y'all. This is just real life stuff. So I have my other co-host who has joined. So I'm going to give her the opportunity to introduce herself. And we have our guest who will be joining us momentarily. But over to you, Anita. Hey, let's talk about it.
Let's talk about it. We've been around the world, and I. Woo-wee. We've been up and down the East Coast this weekend, haven't we, girl?
Yes. Traveling. Yeah, I love it. And we've got another guest that's going to be joining us in the green room. So, you know what? I'm so excited that, everybody's showing up. It's just one of those things. Technology can delay you, but it doesn't have to stop you, right?
Right. It can delay, but it will not deny. Okay.
I love it.
Yes. So thank you for again sharing the platform. My name is Anita Newson. I'm known on social media as Anita in the Biz Coach. And I love to connect people, places, and opportunities. What some of the things that I do with that is business coaching, and a lot of that has to do with funding strategies when it comes to grant education and getting grant ready. So I love helping businesses and nonprofits to do that. And of course, I'm an international best-selling author, along with my beautiful host this evening. We're part of an anthology. She said yes to herself unapologetically. And I am a TV producer with You Make a Difference TV, which is also under Lachelle Atkins here, our super mom of every year, not just 2024, but all years to come and pass. So yes, I love that you're in that contest. And I found somebody else that I know in, and I was like, oh, sorry, but not sorry. Okay, but anyway.
I love that. I love that. Well, we're so glad that you're here. Our guest has arrived, and we also have another co-host who is joining us. And you know what, y'all? I'm trying to get myself together, calm down. You know what I mean? I don't really get stressed out though when it comes to technology. I've learned that I don't have a clue about it, so I don't get myself all worked up. But sometimes people around me can get worked up. They get stressed out because stuff doesn't work. And so I just want everybody to be calm and just enjoy themselves. So we're going to have another quick little break, and then we'll be back with our other co-hosts and our guests. So we'll be right back.
Attention entrepreneurs. Are you ready to take your business to new heights? Join us for the TV Media Tour, where you'll gain the exposure, elevation, and expansion strategies you need for success. Get the tools and insights to run a thriving business. Register today at tvmediatour.com. Don't miss out on this opportunity. Transform your business. Register now.
There we go with technology. Gotta love it. All right. So I'm excited for another guest co-host. We have Melanie Richards. We're going to give you the opportunity to introduce yourself. And then we have our guest of the evening, Favour. So I'm so excited for both of you guys to be here. So Melanie, we'll start with your introduction, and then we'll hear from Favour.
Oh, thanks for a rare opportunity to pop in and join you. My name is Melanie, and a lot of my friends like to call me the letter B, the word visible with Mel. I'm a business attraction coach who loves helping people increase their event success and impact. How do I do that? I'm a certified trust coach, so love to help inclusive leaders and their dynamic teams increase conversations so their businesses are no longer the best kept secret. And thanks for the chance to join you tonight.
Well, I'm so glad that you're here, and thank you so much for giving me the opportunity on your platform on LinkedIn. We've known each other for some time, but I just happened to pop into her LinkedIn audio, And then she was like, "So what do you have coming up?" And I was like, "Well, I actually have a interview in about 30 minutes." And so she said she wanted to come. And so I sent her the link. And so this is how easy networking happens, just showing up and asking the questions or just having a conversation. And that's how easy it is. And that's really kind of what happened with Favor and I. We actually connected on Clubhouse. I've seen him do several rooms, and we just had conversation. And I'm somebody who loves to take networking off the platform. And so I immediately connected with him on Instagram, and he's here today. So, Favor, over to you. Okay, I think he's frozen. There you go. We can't hear you.
Thank you
Or
so
is it
much.
me? There you go.
Thank you so much for having me today. Okay. Thank you so much for having me here today. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it to be on your show and the Keep It Real TV show. For those getting to know me for the first time, my name is Favour Obasi-ike, founder at Work and Play Entertainment, which is an advertising and marketing consultancy business where we're able to help businesses, entrepreneurs, creators find their audience. And by doing that, we get into untapped problem aware audiences using platforms like podcast SEO, Pinterest SEO, all things SEO to make sure that your search experience as a brand from the consumer standpoint is paramount and is top notch for your business. So I'm here today to help you out and be part of the conversation, see where I can tap in and give you some insights. And I'm so glad to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, we are so glad that you're here because, as we've talked a couple times on your stage, I just have stuff everywhere. And right now I'm learning that, I'm all over the place and I don't really have order to it because I just have my head down during the pandemic, just creating lots of content. And now I'm going backwards and trying to organize it and all these other things. So, I love your strategy and a lot of the techniques that you talk about around podcasting. So I think, I'm just here to pick your brain and everybody else who can ask. Because look, I could just ask question after question. So I'm excited that you're here tonight. So let's just start with the fact that you now have an academy. So let's start there with why you felt that that was necessary, and where do you see your vision with that?
Thank you so much for the opportunity. Yes, just a little bit of some background. I have been a self-taught drummer since the age of 6, and I've always been playing music, drumming. I've always been in floppy disks, Yamahas, just the whole 9 yards, and I was playing at my church as well because I'm also a pastor's kid. So I'm also in the things heavily with connecting the dots and being familiar with people, just loving people in general. So that started off for me and eventually took shape. And then fast forward to like 2018, I got to know about like podcasting. I already knew I wanted to be a podcaster because people
Mhm.
kept saying you have a voice for radio, you can do some Dr. Love shows, some relationship, advice shows. And I was like, yeah, maybe, but that wasn't really my focus at the time. But I felt that at some point I want to come back into music and also podcasting. So since I already create music, I'm really doing it professionally. Then why not bring it into the business side standpoint? So in 2018, I thought about it and I processed. I was like, can I start a podcast? I said yes. I took a year to really find out my process. And then in 2019, August 12th, I kicked off my podcast. It's called We Don't Play. And when you check it out, it's everywhere on every single platform: Pandora, iHeart, Apple, Spotify, you name it. If you just type in we don't play podcast.com, you'll find it there. So, why I decided to build this academy is because this year is going to mark 5 years running a podcast show. And we have over 365 episodes. So we pretty much covered a year worth of content in 5 years timeline, which is pretty heavy. And we have about 100 episodes in the pipeline that have not been, released yet this year. So the academy has been built because I want people to come in and learn what I couldn't learn by myself. I had to go through training. I had to go through rigorous, processing. I had to literally do it all by myself because I'm self-taught. So I don't want you to spend 5 more years doing what I took 5 years to do when you can get to spend 5 minutes with me on an episode in the academy and save some 5 hours of research. So that's the whole idea of the academy, is to bring you closer home and give you more information so that you can do it yourself, and also have an accountability group that can work with you to get you to the next level. Because one thing I also know too is about 97% of businesses today fail in the first year of active business operations. And the reason is because capital, support, commitment, name it, finances. But if you have your voice, which God gave you, and you can use it freely, then monetize it by putting it on a platform that people can access and connect with you, and then you build brand partnerships. So that's where I'm coming in, from the angle of helping people monetize their brand right from scratch, from the first episode, because we now have affiliations with Spotify, affiliations with a company that is connected with CNN, and we're also able to get you through to Pinterest Business, because once you put out your content out there, it goes far and beyond. Gone are the days when you post every day on social media to get attention. You want to focus on posting at least once a week. That by the time you look at a year worth of timeline, you've already covered so much that people 2 years, 3 years from now can still benefit from the information that you gave years ago. So that's what we do: build a legacy, build your business, and build it through the academy.
Love that. I love that. That was awesome. So, Anita, do you have any questions for Favor regarding
So,
all that he's working on?
so you must have saw me over here. You saw the wheels. You saw. I know you saw the wheels, Michelle. She knows me. She's like, I can hear the wheels. I see it on her face. No. Thank you so much, Favor, for first of all being here with us tonight and sharing your genius with us. So thank you so much, first of all. Um, one of my questions, I was over here trying to jot down things. She probably saw me writing down stuff. So it's coincidental that today I was actually speaking with a new friend of mine. We just got to know each other, Lachelle, over the weekend. She's the nominated state of Georgia's domestic violence survivor of the year for 2024 for Mia's organization. And so she wanted to talk about branding, right? She's wanted to get into becoming an entrepreneur, and she was telling me some things she wants to do. And one of the things she said was she wanted to have a podcast. And that's another thing I'm over here doing. I'm sending it to, I'm like, y'all need to be over here. Y'all asking me about this stuff. And we got the guru right here. And I don't understand why y'all not on here. I don't understand where y'all at. So anyway, one of the questions I have is for someone that wants to get started, what is maybe 2 or 3 tips or strategies or things they would need to do to just even get started?
Whew, great question. Um, I think I'll give three. The first thing I will say is start off with a good name. You can't beat that. You start off with a good name, because when you say the name of your podcast, it's going to resonate. Something's going to happen. They're either going to say "ooh" or they're going to say "oh."
Right.
Yeah, so you gotta start off with the name right, so that name picks up the pace, and that also kind of gives you an idea of what to expect. And most times when I tell people in the academy, because we're officially kicking off tomorrow, and today is the last day for open beta enrollment, April 30th. So I'll send the link over so that your community can have it, and if you guys want to sign up before midnight, it will be a great experience for you to be on, at least to get started. Because when you kick off with a name, I always say they start off with 2 to 3 syllables. Look at all the big brands we have: Amazon, Tesla, Google, Apple, Microsoft. All of them have 2 or 3 syllables in them, because it's easy to remember. It's easy to catch on. You don't want to say my podcast is called The Great Society of agriculture. You don't want to, it gets long-winded, and then people are like, huh? So you want to get it straight down to the point, let people know what the name is. The next thing, after you get the name, get a domain. get a domain, meaning get a website, because a lot of podcasters don't have websites, and that's a missed opportunity, because when you don't have a website, you don't have real estate, you don't have intellectual property, you don't have a value you can appreciate over time. So when you have a website and you're like, hey, this is my name on my website is called this podcast.com, then the algorithm knows that you have a business vertical with a podcast. Like for me, it's we don't play podcast.com. So you can easily go there and access anything and go to your favorite channel and listen, forever, because it's accessible. So once you have a domain, then you can take dominance over your area. Then the third point, after you now get your domain, you have your name set, build a community by building an email list. Because if you have merch today, if you have sponsorships tomorrow, if you have a business opportunity, if you have a speaking gig, how are they going to know where you are if you don't send them a message? So when you contact them, those are the three basic things I would start off with, and then we can now get technical in the academy together.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you. That is some good information. I'm definitely going to be sharing it. Um, and I hate today is your last sign up, but I know how that is. But that's awesome. That's awesome. Please make sure you share that with us, like you said before you leave today, and your contact information. So I'll just stop there because I'll be asking him questions all night. And I see that our girl over here, Dr. Chi Chi, she is in the chat. She said, that is my fellow Nigerian. And she said, great information, great information. So thank you so much, Dr. Chi Chi. She's one of the people I sent it to, by the way. Thank you for joining us. So good to see your beautiful name there. That's her brand of her clothing line. So thanks for joining. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn it back over to you, Lachelle, because I'll take over.
Awesome. Well, I'm gonna turn it over to Melanie because I've been taking notes, so I got a lot of questions that I could ask. But I'm trying to be mindful. I get into that podcast mode, asking questions, and I can go all day. So, Mel, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Favorite, thanks for your gem. So I'm loving that you're starting an academy, and congratulations for all you're doing to try and educate and help others so they don't have that hard incline that you described from the beginning. I guess my question would be for those who may be a good fit for your academy, who aren't really sure what their brand is about or who it's for yet. How could somebody like that join your community and receive the support to start discovering how a podcast can help them monetize and grow their brand?
Thank you for that question, Melanie. That's a great question. I do believe in the power of community, because I know that when you have a community, you have backup. And in that community, everybody has a role to play. Just like we have different body parts, they all have a role to play, right? We're in different rooms in the house, they all have a role to play. So if you have a business, an idea, you have a formula, you have something that you want to push out, consistently, then if you don't have the brand or the idea, then the name you have is also going to spiral that brand that you're going to have. For example, if you have a business and the name of your podcast could be something to do with cooking, for example, maybe you're interviewing chefs, in your city, for example. Now you may not know what brand to affiliate with because all you know how to do is cook good food, right? But now when you take that cooking to a conversation that people can have, then you start thinking about the spices that you use to cook, the pots that you use to cook with. You start thinking about the curtains that you have, the lighting that you have. You think about all those ingredients and pieces that add to your puzzle. That way, everything is in front of you, right? If you want to cook, everything is in front of you before you cook. Your onions, your tomatoes, your salt, they're all there for you to look at. So when you look at your podcast as a brand, look at it from, okay, I have one idea. How can I turn this idea into different ideas? One thing I usually tell people is there are 5 different types of podcast styles. There's solo, there's co-host, there's interview style, there's roundtable, like what we're doing now, and then there's content repurposing. So if you decide to choose which one you want to be in, then that's going to also help you manage the amount of time you're spending on shows. There's no rules to podcasting. So if you have a brand and you want to affiliate your brand with another brand, then how that brand is going to affiliate with you is based on the conversations that you have because of the research you've done in the community. So there's so many ways that you can, pull that off, but it starts off with the why. If you know why, then brands work with those people that know why. Some brands don't even work with you. You may have all the money, all the influence, but if you're not donating or part of their policy, part of their plan, then it won't work. Some companies may just say, "Hey, we want to work with you because we want to grow more trees." That's a whole conversation on its own. So at the end of the day, I believe podcasting is what you make of it. And if you have a brand and you feel like you want to be part of this academy and you're not sure where to start, then we have those one-on-one conversations where we can help you brainstorm. Because it's easy to brainstorm by yourself, but it's way easier to bounce ideas off somebody as well. So that's what we're here to do, to help you, to be accountable and also to be proactive, in the work. Because we can say we're starting a podcast today, and then come, Christmas, where's your episode? So it's gonna be hard. So you want to have that connection from the jump.
I love that. One of the things that comes to mind, about you talking about your journey and how it's been all this information that you've gathered over the course of your uh, time with podcasting and being able to be a wealth of information for other people is how were you able to make that transition to trust other people to with your intellectual property or whatever. I think a lot of people learn that it's so much easier to do it with a team, with a group of people where you align yourself, whether it's a brand or if it's another business, that you guys have common core values. But for some people, it's hard to fully invest and be committed into the collaboration. So, what advice would you give people who they are experts? They have been doing it for a long time, but it's just kind of hard for them to let go.
It's hard to let go of something that you've been holding on for so long. And you know how they say, what's the word? They say there's a saying that if you love something so much, you gotta let it go.
Mhm.
It's like a catch-22 in a way. So if you really love what you do and you feel like you can leave it into the hands of somebody else, then it's going to have to work at some point. You may fumble because you may not have the right system, but at least you'd have learned from that system or that from that process or even that experience to be able to jump forward. Like for me, why I'm really passionate about this academy, kicking off tomorrow on May 1st, is because I know that a lot of people need holding hands because it's
Mhm.
so hard to click publish or even to click record or to edit to find the right microphone. There's so much that you have to calculate and you kind of get overwhelmed before you can begin. But I'm like, hey, just pick up your phone, go to your voice memo, be in a quiet space, record your episode, find someone like me or somebody else that you trust that you can help take that information up. Go to a platform like Riverside, be on StreamYard, go to YouTube, go to LinkedIn, go to Clubhouse. Like there's so much free space out there that we don't use, but we kind of feel like we need to be in a space that needs to be occupied for us to be ourselves. So we have to really think out the box and actually throw away the whole box and look at the space you have
Mhm.
around you so that you can actually think beyond the norm and then see how that can take you further. So if you're an expert, join other experts. Iron sharpens iron. If I have a podcast and you have a podcast, I'll be on your show, you'll be on my show. That's a trade-off. Before currency came, it was barter trade. So if we can
Yeah.
barter trade our voices, then imagine how much voice we can have and share those voices, across the world. So podcasting is the easiest way to, enter that space. But you also have to think about why you're doing it before you start.
Yeah. I love that because I think, what I learned was to value getting some rest, because I look back and it's like I would be up all night trying to learn something that all I had to do was ask somebody, but I just felt like, oh, I can't ask them. They're going to steal this or steal that. And now I have learned that, I don't have to be doing everything. And one, people don't always hear what I have to say. I might be too old. I might be too short. I might be too whatever, and they're just not hearing it from me. I learned this really good from my kids because I can say something and they don't hear a thing I said. My husband says the same thing. And it's like, oh my goodness, I have never heard that before. And I'm like, did I not just say that? So I love what you're saying about being able to just let it go and go from there, and just being willing to take that risk. So Anita, I'm gonna throw the mic over to you.
Okay, I got it. Thanks for that. Look, oh my God, he dropped this nugget. Oh my, I'm gonna use it again. I just want you to know. Okay, Favor, I'm gonna use it again. He said, okay, y'all. He said, throw away the whole box. All right,
Amen.
and see the area around you. Oh my God, that's a whole book I'm about to write. But anyway, thank you for that. My question though is, tell us maybe what has been the one thing that is you think you can credit your success to. If it was just one thing you could credit your success to, what would that one thing be?
I would 100% say that the one thing I would credit my success to is God. He's definitely the one that pulled me through, and yeah, without Jesus on my side, I don't think I would be where I'm at today, because it's all about, first of all, it's about Him, and then we are His people. So why are we not treating each other the way He treats us? So I look at it from that perspective, from a whole, like forget religion, forget just human people, us, people, the human race. So I look at it from that perspective, and that's where I give 100% credit to. Also, of course, my parents, my dad and mom, they've really helped me, push me through the process. They're like, do it, go ahead, do it. I remember my dad gave me my first computer, like when I was really young. I was making beats and everything. He gave me my first, it was like those box computers, and I used to just make music on them and everything. And I had the chance to go to studios. He's a recording artist too, so I also got a chance to learn music and pick up microphones. I have a microphone right here with me that I have for myself. So I've studied the game, and I've been very patient, because I think one thing about podcasting is patience. Because when people do 2 episodes, 5 episodes, they're like, man, nobody's listening to me. Is this mic on? But think about 50 years from now, you won't have to say that again, because you've said it once and it's on a platform that will ever be online. As long as the internet stays active, you will always remain alive, on the internet. So if you want to outlive your brand, outlive your legacy, outlive your business, be on a podcast. Because imagine me listening to you 10 years ago on a podcast, and 10 years later you're still doing business. I'll trust you because you've been active. If you've been saying you've been doing for business for how long, how can I know you've been doing business and I just met you yesterday? But if I go to your platform and I see episodes of you dropping, on YouTube, dropping on LinkedIn, dropping on podcasts, then it tells me that, okay, I don't know this person, but this person has been around. And that way they'll feel like they're more connected to you, because you've gone through the wire, and they don't want to go to the fire without you going through it with them. So that's how I'd give my credits up.
Look, that's a
Love.
mic drop. I don't even have nothing to say after that. I'm just gonna
Yep.
mute. I mean, that's just,
I love it. Renee Roberts from Clubhouse says hello, Favor. She's watching on
Hey,
Facebook. So,
Renee.
mhm. So Mel, I'm gonna toss it over to you.
Favor, as you're talking, and I know I love how important your faith is to you and to the brand and the community that you're building. For those who they're not sure yet that they can trust their faith walk, They're not sure yet that they can trust their current team members to help them build a brand. How do you go through, as you're saying, to surround yourself with a community that always inspires and takes care of others in the community? Because I think it's a step that some miss as part of building a brand. They think that brand is one thing or one person. That is, you're saying, just having, like you said, just having a name with short syllables won't do it. Just having a team that accompanies you through your steps won't do it. How do you help that part kind of stay intact so that the inspiration stays, and especially as you're about to welcome a lot of new members into your academy? Where would you suggest we start there?
Yeah, I would thank you so much for that, Melanie. I would say if you want to start off, properly on good soil, I would say start off with your why. Because you know why you woke up this morning, you know why you left the house this morning, you know why you ate that food this afternoon, so when you know why you want to have a podcast, or why you want to leave a legacy, or why your brand needs to stand out, so great, who do you think you are, all those things, voices in your head, they'll come. I'm not saying they're not going to come. They're probably going to be way louder than they've ever been. But what you need to do is outlive that sound, because that sound is just for a moment and you're only hearing it in your head. Now imagine the voices that will be hearing you in their head with your podcast, which is way more than what you're hearing in your head by yourself. So when you kind of like balance the equation, you realize that there's more out there than there's more in here. Because if I can give you all that I have and I can give it to others, imagine what they can do for other people too. So don't look at it as a place of, I don't know if I can do it, I'm not sure. I was there too. Sometimes I don't even like releasing my own podcast episode. Sometimes I don't like hitting the publish button. Sometimes I don't like sending an email because I cringe before I send an email to our 6,500 members. I'm so like nervous because I'm like, every time I'm sending a link, I don't know what's going to happen. But all I know is I've done my part. I've left it into God's hands and I'm good. So when you keep it like that and you keep that positive mindset, every time you drop something, it's always going to go far. You may not have a viral video today, you may not have a viral episode tomorrow, but one day someone's going to tell you, hey, I listened to your podcast. They'll send you an email and they'll appreciate you for the time that you spent. People listen to my podcast while doing groceries. People listen to my podcast while they're traveling. People could be listening to your podcast while they're, enjoying themselves, on a road trip. They might be listening to you on the way to work. You don't know what they're going through, but what you do know is that you can supply that information that they have, that they don't have, sorry, that you have, and you can provide. And podcasting is the easiest way to do it. Like even after this show, I'm going to be doing a frequently asked questions episode on my podcast talking about the academy, because a lot of people are asking questions. So I'm like, you rather hear from me than read off a screen. So I'm going the disruptive route, so that when you also see how I'm doing it, it gives you courage to do it. And since I'm also there on your team in the academy, you don't have to worry, because I'll make sure that you do it, because I want to see you win, and I don't want you to waste that time, because I wasted my time and I wouldn't want you to waste yours. That's why I'm so passionate about this academy.
Love that. I mean, you really are dropping some good insight for people that are watching. And one of the things that I just wanted to ask is about the metrics. I have had a history myself where I just focused on a lot of content during the pandemic. One, I didn't realize how many episodes of whatever I was doing until now, when I go back and I'm like, man, I don't have any show notes. Some of them don't have a title, so it's like going back and really having a lot of work to do, where I realized, man, I just was recording a lot of content. But for people that are starting out, what metrics really should they be listening or looking at? Because I think some people get discouraged, like, oh my gosh, only 2 people listened, or I didn't have any views, one comment and things like that. So what advice would you give them about building their brand and the things that they really should be paying attention to?
I think the best way to get this started is to focus on two things. One, organic social. Two, paid social. Those are two different things, but it's coming from the same stem. So the organic social is where you are posting, you know what we talked about in the beginning, your name, your domain, your email. You're using that asset to pretty much give people a first impression of you. So if you show up on Reddit, or you show up on LinkedIn, or you show up on Pinterest, or you show up on TikTok with your, with your video, with your snippet, just post it out there. Let people have the best look. Let people, check you out, see what's going on, post consistently, and then look at your data. Go back to your data. And sometimes when you go back to that, dashboard, you may not know what to look for, like you said. But if you look at it from a podcast standpoint and work in tens, that's what we're going to be doing in the academy. We're going to be working in tens. And what I mean in tens is 10 episode packs. So for every 10 episodes, you're going to look at your analytics, because you will see how that works for you. Like for example, just to give you, full transparency, one of our let me put it this way. This year, when I started off this year, I was praying about it. I was like, what can I do? My goal is to start 50 podcast stations, 50 podcast shows this year, and we're already down 6. It's already end of April. We already hit about 6, 25 churches, 25 businesses, and that's just outside the academy, right? And that's a goal for me. So if I'm looking at those goals, I know that somebody out there may want to tap into that and know how they can do it for themselves. So they're going to be asking, what kind of metrics am I going to be looking at? How do I even start? What platform do I be on? That's going to be a lot of technical questions and answers to fulfill. But if you just look at it from looking at two things, the organic and the paid, the organic social is going to allow you to reach out to people in real time, in different communities. And how you reach out to them is by telling them, hey, I have a podcast episode. How are they going to listen to it? There has to be a link. Where does that link take them to? To your website. If you take them to Spotify or take them to Apple, you're pretty much sending them to a property you don't own, because they could go to Apple, follow your subscription podcast, and then jump off to somebody else, and you've lost them completely. But if you send them to your website, you're getting traffic, you're getting data. Data equals dollars, because the dollars is in the data. So if you are able to use 10 episodes, record them, publish them, and then submit your RSS feed to publications. And that's what we're going to talk about in the academy, because the only way you can be listened to is if you're heard from a platform that people already exist in. So most people just publish their podcast, but they don't put it on RSS feeds. And what an RSS feed means, it means really simple syndication. That's the name of RSS feed. So every podcast has an RSS feed, and it's private. So the more distribution channels you submit your RSS feeds to, which I'll be able to show you in the academy, the more people are able to listen to you, which means the more audiences you're able to grab. And that way you can be able to build out your business. Now, one of our amazing clients, they have a podcast called Bitter to Beautiful. You can check it out with the number 2, Bitter to Beautiful. And they have about 13 episodes now. Now, imagine for every episode that they launched, it unlocked one new state. So now they're being listening to in 13 out of 50 states after 13 episodes. So if you look at it that way, one episode equals one state, one topic equals one problem solving, one episode equals one. Just do it once. Don't think about 10 or 20, one time. If you do it one at a time and every episode is hitting home, it has a message, it has an impact, there's of course a call to action, then just leave the rest to God and let everything flow. But do your part, do the organic, post there. If it's social and you have the budget to pay for that social, run it out and put it out on Spotify, let people be able to see it, and then eventually people will start to lean more into your discussions, into your sound, into your brand. Eventually they'll sign up, and before you know it, you have a super fan. But it doesn't start overnight. It didn't happen for me overnight. So I'm going to tell you, when you come to the academy, don't think you're just going to rock off and go there. But as soon as you're in with dedication and tenacity, you will definitely have the best Christmas holiday. because you'd have served a lot of people, you'd have saved a lot of lives, and you'd have saved a lot of time. I hope that helps.
That was awesome. I love that. And, I was listening to Jim Rohn this morning, and he was talking about you don't get to the destination immediately, but you can change direction right away. So
Yeah.
if you are headed to Maine and you're supposed to be going to California, just simply turning direction can really make you light years ahead of where you were going, because now you're on the right road. Okay. So I love that. And just the whole thing. I think a lot of times people just think that, we should have some superpower where we should say, oh, I want to do this. And after a couple tries, it's successful and that's the end of it. But I love that whole thing about patience. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Anita. We have our last question as we go around before we have to go. But what's coming up for you?
Well, I actually have put a question in the private chat. I'm sure people that may be joining late or, what have you, want to know. He keeps talking about this awesome academy he's about to have and kick off tomorrow. Well, tell us a little bit about the academy. Maybe tell us some things that people will learn in the academy.
Mhm.
Yes, thank you. So the academy, the full name is Podcast Growth Academy, PGA. That's the acronym. And what we're going to be doing in there is giving you access to what is called the SMS method. And when you hear SMS, it's short, right? We think about short messaging and services, right? So if you use that same acronym, I coined that acronym and now turned it into START, Monetize, Scale. So we're going to show you how to start, monetize, and scale your podcast in 6 months. That's 2 quarters. And after that second quarter, you can decide to either, scale it on your own or scale it with us. We can help you, but you have everything you need, because in that academy, in the Podcast Growth Academy, there's going to be resources in there. There's going to be an Ask Me Anything section in there. If I have an episode that you liked listen to and you have questions, you can ask the question inside that episode on text format, and I'll create a new episode to address that question so that other people can listen to it. So it's going to be a very interactive place where people can connect. I also have tutorials. I'll be going on Clubhouse like tomorrow. I'll be going on Clubhouse and I'll be on Zoom, literally having conversations on how to set up your podcast ad, how to, set up your podcast, how do you show up on search engines. And I'll be showing people how to do that on audio, but I'll also be recording the video so that when you join the academy, you can have access to that resource and you can always binge watch as much as you can. Now, that's the one angle of the Podcast Academy. The other side of that is it's pretty much like if you look at a pie chart, it's 80-10-10. So 80% is going to be you doing the DIY, the experience, the binging, the listening, the processing, the tutorials. Then the 10% is going to be one-on-one consultation, private consultation. So we have that once a month. If you have any question, if there's any episode that you listen to, if there's anything in the academy that you want to pick up on, I can help you with that. Then the other 10% is group, where we're all going to be coming together as a group to not hear from each other, because I would like, let's say, Anita to be on Melanie's podcast. Melody would like to be on Lachelle's podcast. Lachelle would like to be on Anita's podcast. So I would like that to build into the community so that people are on each other's podcasts, because we're talking about growth. Why can't we grow together when we're in the same house? So that's where we start from. Charity begins at home. So you can't help someone outside if you can't help yourself inside. So that's the point I'm coming from, to help a lot of people be accountable for their, episodes, their recordings, how things work. They don't have to spend thousands of dollars to get set up. They can literally use tools that are online these days that are free to start off. And then that way you can now build into your practice. So those are the three things that we're going to be covering, within that academy. And once you're in there, you can stay connected. If you have any problems or any, things that you may need, we're going to help you process that. Now, because today is the last day for the beta enrollment, before we now turn on subscription plans, because we're going to have monthly plans, annual plans, and lifetime plans, and we call them passes. We don't even call them, they're plans because people hear plans and pricing, but we're using them as passes, because when you use a monthly pass, then you have enough space to walk around. You know, when you get a pass, an exclusive pass, a VIP pass, you can go backstage, you know, so it's that kind of thing where you get a kind of experience as well. So once you're in there, you have my phone number, you connect with me, we stay on track and we help you, you know, get that sorted out so that your podcast is seen and heard. And if you join before the subscription plan begins, then you have exclusive access to now get on a call with me and some of my team members who will now have direct access to Spotify so that you can actually set up your account. We get you set up with your Spotify ads account. If you want to, let's say you want to advertise on CNN articles, we have that available for you now. Because I just got to know that CNN has about 1 billion impressions, you know, on their feed, you know. So imagine if you're contributing 10%, 1% to that 1 billion, and people are listening to you, then you can get to see the zip codes they're listening to you from. That goes back into data. So we look at your data and know, okay, if your top city is North Carolina, top state is North Carolina, let's say Ohio or Hawaii, and we go into those zip codes, we go into those metrics, and then if you want to run ads, then we make sure that the money you're spending is going to the right place. Because a lot of people spend like $5 a day in the whole US. It doesn't make sense, and it won't make any sense either. You know, so that if you're able to like look into that from the podcast perspective and look at it from a growth perspective, you may have started a podcast, you may have scaled one, you may have monetized, you may have hit a ceiling, but with the help of groups around you, you can't but go up. So that's what the podcast is going to be about.
Love it.
Awesome. Ooh, that was a lot. Yes, I'm loving it. I'm loving it. Love
That's
that. Thank you for
good.
sharing. Yes.
Hmm. All right. So, Mel, we're over to you for your final question.
Thanks, Favor, for a preview as to part of my question because I was going to ask you about membership and did you have a
Hmm.
bunch of different levels? One of the things I love about what you're reminding us is to keep dreaming and dream big and to keep
Hmm.
inviting people in who are looking for ways to solve problems.
Hmm.
I thought I was allergic to a podcast. Someone suggested me for one. One of my live um, that we recorded, the video just didn't cooperate, and it became my first podcast. I love what you're suggesting about keeping the titles short. Do you have any suggestions in terms of how to help prepare podcast guests to come join us? Because a lot of people
Hmm.
use different platforms. They're not really sure how to pop in for a tech check or why. But do you will in your membership underneath your hood, are you going to help people learn how to help prepare their guests also? Because that could be a big well, a big challenge for some.
Hmm.
Yes, definitely. We'll be able to help you with that because before even a podcast is released, it has to be scheduled. So, and the scheduling has to go through a process. Some people have a process where they need your questions before they ask you. Some people do it free flow. So, it's also good to know what style of podcast you're going to be on first. Then I know if it's solo, then I don't have to worry about a guest. I can just focus on your topics. If it's round table, what are people bringing to the table? How can we add value to the conversation? So, I'll be able to help you with those things, and either you can get that set up, or you can use my method, which I've used for years, and it works. Where you have a Calendly, you have a link, you have all
Hmm.
the questions in there. Once you pick it up, you now get on your schedule. You can have it two ways. One way could be one Calendly could allow you to just have a 10-15 minute talk with them, just to know exactly who they are if it's your first time meeting, because you don't want to be surprised. It's like a blind date. You don't want to be surprised on record, right? So, so you, it happens. So you, dressing, you know, appropriately, all the things that you need for your brand, so that you also can meet the requirements and eligibility processes for your podcast, because your podcast is a business in the first place. So those are things I'll be able to help you with. Another part of that would be just show up and you see what happens. Maybe use an hour and take 15 minutes out of that hour to now talk to them and, you know, express to them what they need. But before they even scheduled it, at least you know that you have their contact information. So with that information, you can send them one sheet, or there's so many ways to go about it. But I think the easiest way to do it is asking the guest what they want to talk about, and then now you can go and do some research on what they do and then highlight some of the things that they talk about, and that way it adds value to the conversation. For my podcast, I don't have any script. I'll be honest. We have no script. Anything that comes out comes out. And that's how people like the podcast, because they're like, it's like they feel like they're eavesdropping into a conversation. And that's what someone said. And I felt like, okay, let's keep going. So you never know what style your podcast can pop into. But if you keep that consistency and just have faith that someone's going to listen, and you put it in the right, on good soil, which is good, podcast directories, then you'd be great. Just like back in the day, put it on newspapers or yellow pages, someone finds you, you don't know how they found you. Same thing with podcasts. If you put yourself out there, the more spaces you are, the more places people can find you.
Love that. That was awesome. All right. Well, we are really just have so much gratitude. I really could ask more questions. I'm over here thinking, and it's like, you know what, we really appreciate your time. We just have to have you come back, have you come back and share some more insights with us, because this has been a wonderful conversation. And with podcasting being very popular right now, as a lot of people feel it's low hanging fruit when it comes to getting a lot of content out to a lot of people in an economical way. A lot of people are interested in it. So I think it would be a great topic for us to kind of dive in a little deeper. So we do have your link going across the bottom of the screen, but I want to give you the opportunity to share any final thoughts or anything that you want us to leave with this evening that we didn't ask.
Yeah, thank you. I will say two things which I think will really spark inspiration. The first thing is, did you know that in 2023, according to iHeart, which is their big media company,
Mhm.
they made a report, because I'm big on reports. I love studying reports. And they said that in 2023 in the US, there were more podcast listeners in the US than Netflix subscribers. When you see that, it tells you that there are a lot of people who do not listen to um, TV or watch TV as they used to, but there are people who still do. But if you look at the scope, people paying $9.99, $12.99 for Netflix, but your podcast is free and there's more audience there. So you can turn your podcast that's being listened to for free into a paid premiumship, where people can actually pay, $1.99, $9.99, depending on how you want to price it, for exclusive information. So don't just think of your podcast as a free place to just put out stuff. You can monetize your podcast, and we'll show you how to do that in different ways that brand deals can connect with you. You can have them baked in. You can have people affiliate with you. You can actually run ads on the platform. You can create playlists for your podcast, let you know the mood and style of your podcast. So if you do it that way, it can really help. And the word podcast, the second thing I want to say, the word podcast, you can do research. The word podcast stems from two words: iPod plus broadcast. And you remember back in the day when Steve Jobs said 1,000 songs in your pocket? Now imagine 1,000 podcast episodes in your pocket. Now think about that 10 years from now, 20 years from now, people listening to your podcast anywhere in the world because you have access. And if people can see you, if people can remember you, then you're doing a good job marketing. And I really appreciate, being here in the Keep It Real TV show with you, Lachelle, Melanie, and Anita. I definitely look forward to being back. There's so much we can cover. I didn't even think an hour could go this fast. So thank you so much for having me here. And if you also want to connect with me, please reach out to me. You can Google the company called Work and Play Entertainment. You can Google us and find us there. You can go and find me on LinkedIn as well, Favour Obasi-ike. I'm there on LinkedIn. I'm big on LinkedIn. Clubhouse as well. So anywhere you want to connect with me, feel free. If you need help with your business, setting up your website, setting up your structure, your anything that is online that is marketing related, I'll be there to help you and at least get you started. So I hope this was helpful, and I hope I was able to add value to your day. Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you so much for being here, and definitely appreciate all the insights that you shared. And this has just been a wonderful time to get to know you and to meet you. And I'm going to go around and ask our co hosts if they have anything that they have coming up that they want to make sure that they highlight. Because tomorrow is May 1st, y'all. We are headed into a new month, and every month I try to have a new attitude, something new going on. So I want to give y'all the opportunity to share that. So, Melanie, we'll start with you. Anything new and the best place for everybody to get a hold of you?
Thanks again for an opportunity to join you. But best place, definitely, hands down, LinkedIn. I host a live stream usually on Mondays at 2 Eastern. Tomorrow, I have a guest who I'm about to join one of her great groups about reclaiming your value. So going live again tomorrow on LinkedIn at 2 Eastern. But come pop in and say hi, and truly a pleasure. Thank you so much, just for pumping up an evening and brightening a day. So thank you so much for your gems.
Absolutely. Thanks for coming. We appreciate you. All right, Anita, what you have coming up?
Michelle, that's an open. You're just opening yourself up to going over this hour where we already are. But anyway, well, okay. Well, let me start with every Monday. I would love to invite you both of you all. We have at 12:30 on Clubhouse every Monday, coming soon. So that is a platform where people can come and talk about their upcoming events, things
Mhm.
like academies and courses, book launches, whatever you have coming up. We love to open up, the platform for people to share on their upcoming events. So we have that every Monday on Clubhouse, and that's actually in the Elephant Strategy Room, which is Lachelle Atkins. She's one of the co-owners of that. So thank you for her, letting us do that in there on every Monday. Then this Sunday in Columbus, Georgia, we're actually having a book lounge. And I am the host of that. We'll have authors there that will be sharing their stories about, their books and their different projects they have going on. And we'll have vendors, and it's just going to be a day of inspiration and empowerment. So we are looking forward to that. I'm going back to my old stomping grounds, and I'm calling it ATL to C-Town, because I lived in Columbus, Georgia for over 20 years. That's where I raised my family mostly. And then I've only been in the Atlanta, Georgia area a little bit over 6 years now. So going back to see my peoples.
Love
So
it.
we have that coming up. And then I'm excited about, and I definitely want to talk to Favour about this, I guess off grid. I am having a challenge in June. So I'm dating it. I believe, Lachelle, is going to be June 10th through the
Mhm.
13th. And it's going to be all about how to help people, entrepreneurs, get into the world of TV. Being that we have these platforms, we want to be able to extend it to folks. But like some of the questions you all were talking about earlier, some people don't know where to start. They're like, oh
Mhm.
my God, I can't do this TV thing. I'm still saying it myself. So I know how it can be. I know the struggle. So I don't want other people, just like, Favor is saying about his academy. If you can make life easier for somebody else, why not do that?
Mhm.
So that's my whole desire with this challenge that I have coming up in June, and just, want to expose people to preparing themselves for things like podcasts, for being on TV, being interviewed and conducting interviews and everything in between, right? So I'm
Mhm.
excited about that. And I would love to have you come on as one of my special guests, Favorite, but we can talk about that later.
I love it. That real time questions. I mean, that's the best way to do it. That's exactly how Mel's here tonight, because she was like, hey, real time, let's lock it in right now. So I appreciate that. For myself, I really don't have too much coming up about except for the book lounge, which is this Sunday. I mean, I just traveled last weekend to Virginia with three of my kids on a road trip for 8+ hours. And I'm glad to just be able to just do one thing this weekend coming up. But
Yeah.
one of the things that I would say is that it's so important to get out and meet people, because you never know who this one person may connect you to another person. That's just how networking works. So, whatever platform you're on, whether it's virtual, audio, take that time to make those connections, because, the only thing stopping us with a lot of our growth is ourselves. So, you can connect with me pretty much everywhere. But again, so glad to have you guys join us this evening. And if there's some questions that you're having regarding anything that Favour shared, put it in the thread of this event, and we'll be sure to make sure that he gets those questions answered for you, because it really does take a village. There's so many things that happen all the time with new apps and, new tools and strategies. So we would love to be able to support you on your journey of being visible, of learning about podcasts and anything else. So thank you guys so much for watching. Again, Favour, thank you for joining us. And we will see you guys next week. Bye for now.